friends. My name is Rhonda Slater. I am founder of Pierced by Love and Pierced by Love podcasts. I'm so glad you're here today. I have an idea for you as we approach the new year. A lot of people do vision boards, and I am going to suggest that you prophesy out your year. Ask the Lord what each month looks like as the year approaches. It's a fun way to walk with the Lord all year long and to be encouraged by his Rhema word. So anyway, let's get started. It's sometime in probably December. I just sit down with the Lord. And if you're not familiar with prophecy, you are his sheep. If you're a born again Christian, that means Jesus said his sheep can hear his voice. So by faith, if you're not familiar with prophecy or hearing the Lord, by faith, sit down, have a journal. I like to do a journal. So I have a place to write what the Lord is saying, especially if you're going to be prophesying out your year, you'll have a place to write down every month. And I like these wide, large space journals. They seem to last me a little bit longer, but I journal a lot. I like the spiral bound, so they lay flat and they're easy to write on. So those are the kinds I like. Really, any journal or any kind of paper will work. Sit down and set your heart towards the Lord. That is a great way to start. You could turn on some worship music and just start to worship. You can turn your heart towards the Lord, pray, whatever you need to do to encounter His presence, to kind of get your head, your heart in the right direction. And sit down and ask the Lord, what do you want to say about this upcoming year? And let's start with the whole year. See if there's anything just in general He wants to say. You may not hear anything, and that's okay. He may want to just do month by month with you. But ask Him about the whole year. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. So I've been doing it for several years, probably 4 or 5 years now. So what I did last year is I made a calendar on Canva, and then I had it printed out through Canva, which is really easy. Just when you download your creation, it'll give you an option to print on Canva. So last year, that's exactly what I did. I just created a calendar on the Canva app, and then I had them print it and mail it right to me. I think last year this cost a little bit, about like $25 or so. I'm not sure. Kind of expensive for a calendar, but I mean, it was my own creation. I'm going to be using it all year long next year. So for me, it was just kind of well worth it. So, and it was easy rather than me having to go through sending it to another retailer and go, which, you can do that too. It's okay. So here we go. We're sitting down. When you get ready, probably sometime in December, something like that. Sit down with your journal, ask the Lord what He wants to say about the following year. And you're just going to begin to write. And you know what? In the beginning, it might sound like you, but just keep writing your thoughts. And pretty soon, what you're going to find is you're going to start to hear the Lord and you're going to start writing things that don't quite sound like you, if that makes sense. So write those things down. And then when you get done hearing what He has to say for the overall year, you're just going to write January, start with January and just say, Lord, what do you want to tell me about this coming January? And then just start to write what you hear. Now, here's the thing. There's other ways that He might talk to you. So He might give you a vision. In fact, He does that with me a lot. You might smell something, you might taste something. Who knows? The Lord can use all of your senses to talk to you, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. So let's go with my word in January. So I just sat down and I asked Him. And you see, I interacted a lot with this calendar in January. So I wrote down the word that I heard. I wrote it down in my journal first. And then when I created this in Canva, I typed it in. And then this is close to the vision that I got from the Lord. And so I found this right on Canva. I inserted it on the page. And then it just gives an idea of what the Lord was saying. And then through the month, I was hearing other things. So, like, this is Isaiah 43:2 that really spoke to me. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And so I put that on a sticky note and just added that to my calendar. It was hanging on my wall right next to my desk so that I would have easy access to it, to see it and refer to it often. So I started out the word. Let me just start reading this to you, and you can get an idea of how the Lord might speak to you. But keep in mind, He speaks to everybody differently. Yours might not sound like this. Mine tend to be kind of spiritually symbolic, but for you, He may speak more direct. He may speak more plainly. Like He may say on the 3rd of the month, this is going to happen. On the 15th of the month, this specific thing is going to happen. He typically doesn't talk to me like that. A few years back, He did tell me one month that I was going to have a phone call that month that was going to change the trajectory of my life. And I had these ideas of what that phone call was going to, be this amazing phone call that was just going to, it was going to lead to amazing things. Well, to be honest, it was a really hard phone call that I had to really recover from, but it did change the trajectory, ended up being a blessing. And when I went back to the calendar to refer to that, when I saw that God went 4 or 5 months before me to tell me that that was going to happen, it just brought me so much peace. Just to know that God knew that was going to happen and he had a plan even through that circumstance. So when I started to listen about January, I started with I see a ship sailing over the open seas. So I didn't hear first, I saw a vision first. And so I just wrote that down. So just feel free to write down whatever it is you're experiencing from the Lord at that moment. And then I hear go. So I wrote that down. I hear, quote, go. And then I see buoys, like those things that float in the water, marking boundaries of deeper water, the ship sailing confidently past them. And so it just goes on. It's a little bit symbolic, but as I was going through my month of January, I would go back and I would refer to the calendar. I would read that word again and again. And it was so enriching to look back at what God had said that kind of guided me and gave me encouragement throughout the month of January. So let's go back to when I was talking about God can talk to you through smelling, through tasting, through you might feel like you can just imagine you're feeling something and you're like, why am I feeling that? Why are you talking to me that way? Well, then just ask him the questions. So one time I was at this conference several years ago, and the prophetic activator told us to ask God for a smell for a word for our partner. Very odd, right? And so I thought, I don't know what's going to happen here. So when I asked the Lord for a smell to spur off a word for my partner, I immediately smelled deviled eggs, heavenly eggs, whatever you want to call them, those stuffed eggs. Where you make it, where you mix it up with the yolk, and it. Anyway, a staple in every grandmother's kitchen, right? Well, that's kind of what happened. So my partner came up, and I felt like it was kind of a weird, like you want to see something that, comes out of the Bible, or I don't know, like a flower or so, I don't know. But I said, well, I don't know. I just smelled deviled eggs. And she got excited. She started crying. She said, "Oh my gosh, it means so much," because literally it was a staple at her grandmother's house and it brought memories flooding back to her. I don't remember the exact circumstance with her grandmother, if she had recently passed away or anyway, but those deviled eggs, that smell meant so much to her. And so you just never know. You've got to just put things out there by faith. Sometimes, people taste things like the Bible talks about tasting honey. You just don't know. But ask the Lord, well, Lord, why am I tasting that? What does that mean? What are you trying to tell me? And press into that. So it's one thing to smell it and go, oh, huh, that's interesting, and then go about our day. But it's a whole other thing to say, okay, Lord. And it's like Moses stopping and acknowledging the burning bush, right? He didn't just walk by it and go, oh, the bush is burning and it's not burning up. That's so odd, and keep about his business. What's important that as prophetic people, we don't do that either. We don't just graze over these things that come to us in the spirit. So ask God what he's saying about those things. So I said, I see this, I hear this, and then God began to give me a word. It's excitement, steadfast, brave, intrepidous. I am reminded of Jesus obeying the Lord, whether he was coming to the earth as an infant or going to the cross. He went without hesitation. Let it also be done to me. Amen. That was my word for January. So I'll read a couple of these maybe just to give you an idea. But again, yours may not sound anything like this because we're all different and God speaks to all of us differently. This was a couple months later. Accept the reign of refreshment. I'm not only a king, but a good father who cares for those who follow me. Drink, bring your hands to your mouth as to stay alert. I am with you. Abide, rest. You will soon rise again. Eat and strengthen yourself. So what I did was, as I got to that month, I would just continue to go back to that word and be encouraged and try to continue to talk to the Lord about what he meant about these words and how they correlated with what I was going through in that moment. I had the vision to go with it, that could also give me an idea of what God was saying. So You can do a vision board also if you want to. Some people do those every year, but I encourage you to try to prophesy out month by month. It's such a dynamic way to walk through your year with the Lord and allow Him to speak to you on a regular basis and guide you in a more pointed fashion, if you will. And so, super fun to do, super easy. Walk it out by faith. Try it, see what you like. I didn't always make a calendar like this. I mean, when I first started, I would just write the months out on cardstock and frame them and just switch them out each month. But I put them always somewhere where it was prominent, where I could refer to it again and again. So I found that to be really important. You don't want to receive God's word and then just tuck it away somewhere and forget that you ever received that. That would kind of defeat the whole purpose. So prophesy out your year. If you have some other way, some other tradition of hearing the Lord's voice that you do to kick off your new year, write it in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you do it. If you do prophesy out your year and you have a testimony or something you'd like to share in that regard, love to hear that as well. But we thank you for watching, and you have a blessed holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.